I want to speak on why trying to change another person can be both wrong and frustrating. And then I'll share some of my personal tips that keep me in check whenever I catch myself trying to fix another person that I think has a flaw that I find unbearable, okay? Because quite often than not, when we go into any kind of relationship with anyone, whether it's a love relationship or it's a relationship with a friend or it's a family member, when we're going to that kind of a relationship with the idea that we can change someone to be better, the moment we identify their flaws and their shortcomings and all those habits that they have that we can't stand, or perhaps it's their opinions on particular topics we just never seem to agree on, and then we decide to take it upon ourselves to help them by trying to fix them or fix whatever it is we have perceived as wrong, we're only being controlling and not helpful in any way. No, okay? You see, sometimes we fail to realize that our first and foremost task in any relationship is not to fix anyone, but to love them, okay? We're supposed to love each other and then support one another in being and doing better in those areas we feel could be a deal breaker, all right? And I can speak from personal experience on this topic as I have had to learn and grow myself, by observing how some utterly amazing role models in my life deal with this kind of issue and have dealt with it successfully, this issue of trying to fix other people. Because as much as I hate to admit it, one of the biggest struggles that I have faced so far in my life is one of always trying to change others, whether it's in my friendships or my family member or professionally. You see, the truth about always trying to change other people by trying to force them to do or stop doing something right now is that by approaching things in that manner, you're only acting like the judge over their lives, all right? That's what it is. And you're taking it upon yourself to not only tell them whatever it is that you think is wrong, you're also telling them how it is wrong, okay? And this so-called bright wisdom that you were trying to impose on them is based purely on what you think you know. And most times it can even come across as a feeling of superiority over them, okay? And so when we start trying to fix this person we perceive as being broken or damaged or inadequate by our own standards, we will definitely end up in conflict over and over again with them, okay? So hello again and welcome to Insights with Chipo. Thank you so much for stopping in again today, as I will be sharing with you some of my own tried and tested ways on how to stop trying to fix another person. Because truly, some of the stuff that some people do all the time may annoy us as hell, and may even be that very thing that prevents us from enjoying their company or appreciating and accepting them for who they are, or even just being good to them in general, okay? And until we learn how to live with their individuality, we will always be in conflict with them, and we will end up blaming ourselves for the outcomes we may eventually be faced with if this continues, all right? So if you stay with me quickly, I'll share with you what I do, what I've done, how I'm learning to change and become better in that aspect, okay? See you in a bit. It's really hot today, guys. I'm sorry. I'll start shortly, though. You see, whenever we start trying to force an individual, say, for example, someone that's already a part of our life, or someone already, perfect in his or her own way, her own unique way, whenever we try to force them to change so that they can answer to our expectations and be who we imagine them to be, we automatically become controlling with our fix-it attitudes, okay? And we will meet not only with resistance, but with frustration. Our frustration and their frustration. When we constantly put people in a position where they are no longer allowed to be the person we met, okay? They naturally respond with resistance, because without wanting to, we have asked them now to become uncomfortable for our own comfort. Yes, think about that, okay? You were telling them that in order to make you happy, you need them to give up their individuality for your ideals, which are based on your own standards, which may be as flawed as you are, believe it or not. Because whether we like to admit it or not, we all are flawed human beings. We all are. Nobody's perfect, okay? Some are even more flawed than others, but we're all flawed, okay? None of us are perfect. And so when we embark on this kind of a journey with a person, it can be frustrating for them as well as for us when we invest all of our energy and all of our time into forcing them or wanting them to become something or someone else. All right, we must understand two very important things about trying to change a person. And the first thing is this. I'll just gather my thoughts on that. The first thing is that we cannot change people no matter what. We can't. No matter how hard we try, we can't, because we will only end up being frustrated. People generally cannot act differently than they always do because they have become so set in their ways. And so trying to change them will only set us up for repeated disappointments, all right? Repeated disappointments, frustrations, anger, and just everything that we don't want to be feeling in a relationship with someone. Every day we meet people who are just difficult to deal with. And so to make life with them easier, we focus on all the reasons why they are difficult, and we devise ways to make them change. But unfortunately, all of our efforts will usually end up just being a waste of energy, because the only people we have control over is ourselves. Yes, ourselves and nobody else. And so we can allow our situation with a difficult person change us for the better or for the worse. And this change can either be a change in our perspective of the circumstances that frustrate us, or we can allow the circumstances to frustrate us into becoming so discontent with the relationship that we become unpleasant and unhappy, all right? Now, the second most important thing that we must know about changing people is that even if they eventually succumb to the pressure we put on them to change, they may become so different from what we expected that they're now nothing but a boring version of what we actually want, and nothing from the original person we met and were attracted to before we started seeing all their flaws is left of them, you see? Because sometimes when people change for us like that, they're giving up parts of themselves that made them interesting to us in the first place, okay? And rather than becoming more attractive or even more interesting or more whatever it is we're looking for in them, they become this pieced together version of our expectation that is now lacking in everything we really desire, and completely different from the person we once loved or became friends with or even had something in common with before, okay? It's almost like creating a Frankenstein of a beau ideal, you know? And this can be an unfair and a painful transformation to expect any person to undergo, because they are now subjected to living a regressed or an unwanted version of themselves, all because of you. Now, how selfish is that? And how long do you think they will continue to live like that before they change back to whoever they really were? Huh? How long? Because if they eventually change back, it'll end up leaving you feeling even more frustrated than ever, and you still won't be satisfied with them. How can you? You see, to truly love someone is to accept them by supporting them to become a better version of what they want to be, rather than fixing them to change into what you want them to become. Instead of all that, we can support them. By supporting them, you are allowing them to make their own choices and deciding to still be there for them if things go wrong, and then continuing to support them to do better next time, okay? Trying to change them or fix them, on the other hand, is forcing them to do it our way when their way does not work. Supporting them is giving them the opportunity to share with us their needs and trusting that we will take them into account when they share them, okay? Now, trying to fix them is nagging. Supporting is nurturing. we need to know the difference between both. So we don't fall into that fixing, thing. Fixing them is approaching their issues with anger when things get rough, while supporting them is reassuring them that things will get better. So we need to find that balance, okay? Supporting them is also seeing them exactly as they are, while fixing them is seeing in them what you think they can't see or refuse to see in themselves. Because most times people who need to change already know it, and they only need a supportive environment to do so, and not an unsupportive one, okay? So now, here are some of the things that are helping me to tackle my own impatience with certain people who don't always meet my expectations of them, all right? I've broken them down into 4 simple tips, all right? Now, the first thing we need to do that will help us stop trying to change or fix another person is to stop focusing on their flaws. Yes, we need to learn to overlook some things that people do that upset us so much. And we need to understand that everyone has flaws and nobody's perfect. Most people we meet every day, even those surrounded, that surround us every day, our loved ones and family members and friends and colleagues, all of them have flaws, okay? And flaws are things in a person's behavior or about their appearance and their way of thinking that we wish were not there, and we would love to change to become a version of whatever ideals we may have. But you see, we don't always get what we want in life, no. And so we have to learn to live with some flaws as much as others have learned to accept and live with our flaws too, okay? Besides, why would we want to have our own version of who others should be at all? Why? Now, the second thing is we must learn to focus on their good sides, because flaws are inevitable. You'll always find them if you're looking for them. So why do we focus on them? Why? Instead of looking for something to fix in the other person, just choose to focus on the good sides they may have that make you happy already, okay? Remind yourself of why they were important to you in the first place. Maybe they're your family or your friend, or they're someone you spend quality time with and you have a lot in common with. Go back to that time and remind yourself of the things that made you decide to make them a part of your life in the first place. And then remind yourself of how it felt connecting with them from the very beginning, okay? And I'm sure you'll find a happy place again. And as you do this consistently, before long, you'll find that this approach will begin to make you so much more happier than when you were always trying to change something in them, all right? You'll find that appreciating them more and enjoying who they are will make you even happier, all right? Now, the third tip is to stop comparing them with yourself or with everyone else that you admire. Remember that even the greener grass on the other side needs mowing too, because those you compare them with now also have stuff that they're dealing with too. They have their own flaws too, okay? So constantly nagging someone about the way they should be or should not be, or about their way of life, is as a result of you comparing them to yourself or to others. And it's got to stop. Everyone has a different taste in life. We all want different things. We all have different approach about things that matter to us, okay? We are all unique human beings and we have our own way of thinking. You see, everyone sees the world in their own way. It's not right or wrong. It's just different, okay? It's just different. We all can't be the same. And so comparing them with others is disrespecting their individuality. I had to learn that myself. Let's not try to change that, okay? Let's allow others to follow their path in life, with everything programmed in it, their mistakes, their failures, their successes, and so on. Okay, that's how people learn to grow and they will eventually succeed in life, okay? So let's just, do this thing, please, okay? Now, my fourth and final tip is to be more compassionate towards their shortcomings. Let's learn to put ourselves in people's shoes. People are fighting battles we know nothing about every day. And most times these things they're dealing with can be the very reason behind those flaws that you and I hate so much and are trying to fix. People in the world we live in these days have been through so much and are going through a lot. And this can explain why sometimes they act bad, or they don't trust anyone, or they act rude, or they just want to be alone and maybe seen as being socially incompatible with other people, okay? So when we show a bit of compassion instead of trying to fix them, it can be a way of us supporting them instead of trying to make them change for us, okay? In conclusion, the takeaway from all I've said today is this. We must understand that we cannot control anyone else's behavior, and we can't make another person want to or be able to change. But we can always make the choice to shift our attention inward to focus on ourselves. And by this, I'm not implying that we should give up supporting them to become a better version of themselves. No. What I'm saying is this. It's better to motivate them by being a great role model instead of trying to manipulate them to change for us, okay? And hopefully by doing this, they will admire us so much that they will want to take action to be like us. And if not, then we can still be at peace with ourselves, knowing that we've done the best thing, the best way for everyone involved, okay? So that's it again for today. Thank you so much for listening in, and I hope you were blessed and you got something out of it today. I'll see you at my next video. Stay safe, stay blessed. Bye.